Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you guys are having a beautiful, fantastic day. I hope you're staying happy, staying healthy, staying motivated. Guys, today we're talking about evictions right now. Evictions. Some of you know, or some of you don't know. Right now, guys, we're seeing hundreds of thousands of evictions happening all across the United States. Here, where I'm located in South Florida, evictions are very, very common right now as well. Obviously, the big root of evictions, obviously, people just can't afford to pay their rent. We made a video yesterday talking about the economy, the GDP, some economics 101, and how exactly all this works when you have high interest rates, high inflation. It's just not a pretty picture for the common folk, you know. And when I say common, it's people making anywhere from $40,000 to $60,000. And guys, just because you make six figures doesn't necessarily mean you are economically sound. Financial knowledge is not everybody has financial knowledge. And what I mean by that is not everybody understands savings and how savings work and how much you should be saving. A decent amount of time, usually when people make more money, they spend more, right? When it should be the opposite. Keep your expenses low, save more so that you can prepare for your future. But we're going to get right into it, guys. All right, everybody, we're going to get right into it. I'm going to pull up this map so you can take a look. Now, this is only 10 states and 34 cities. There has been, I mean, look at this number, guys. Landlords have filed for over 1 million evictions in the last 12 months. It's almost at 1.1 million evictions that have been filed in the last 12 months. Think about that. 1.1 million evictions of people, tenants, not being able to live in their place, you know, being evicted for whatever the reason. And obviously the main reason is going to be for lack of payment, rent. They can't afford their rent. So it's a very interesting time. And if you take a look on the number right under that, it says 82,965,000 evictions over the past month, guys. That is a scary number. And this number is rising. Okay. Now, something that I want you to take note on this map that I have here is that these numbers are high, right? I mean, we can all agree this is a lot of evictions happening, you know, on this map across the U.S. But what's scary about that, guys, what makes this really scary is that this map only has 10 states and 34 cities. And if you guys know well, there are 50 states in the United States, obviously. So, guys, this is one fifth of states across the United States. So what does that mean? This number in actuality is actually much, much higher than this, guys. They're just giving you data on these specific cities and in these specific states. So that's really scary, guys. The number, if we're talking 1/5, right? Is it safe to assume that that number is at least double on both ends? So if it's 1.1 million, over the past 12 months, we can make the assumption, or let's say we make the assumption that it's double that. Let's say it's 2.2 to 3 million over the past 12 months. And let's say instead of it being 82,965 over the past month, it's double that too. So you're looking at about 160,000 evictions minimum across the United States. Guys, that is a lot of evictions. Remember, these are families, guys. These are individuals. These are people that are just like me and you, just trying to make it, trying to have a place to live. You know, it's we all have a right to be able to have, especially if we work hard for it, we should be able to have our own place. Whether you're renting or owning, that's up to the individual, but we should be able to have our own rentals without being evicted, you know. But again, it comes down to numbers, right? If you can't pay your rent, you're gonna get evicted. There are few and far between landlords that are much more lenient, but for the most part, guys, this is a business transaction. This is how people make a living. This is how people afford their way of life. So we have to understand, if people are getting evicted due to lack of payment, it's a sad situation, guys, but this is happening. Whether you think it's sad or you don't think it's sad, this is real. These are real numbers. This is real life here, guys. So very interesting map from Eviction Lab. So again, it could be 3 or 4 times these numbers, guys. I'm just doubling it just to make safe presumptions, but it could be 3 or 4 times that number. It could be 4.4 million. It could be 320,000 over the past month. Think about that, guys, for a second. So obviously, this graph, so just going back real quick, during the pandemic, there were different laws, different policies enacted that were making it very difficult for owners to evict their tenants. Due to the situation, there was a lot of people that weren't able to afford their rent because of they weren't able to go to work. You know, obviously, again, during the pandemic, things were very different than they are right now. So these numbers that you guys are seeing, they're not exactly at the pre-pandemic numbers, but they are reaching these numbers, guys. Okay, so I have some other data here that I want to share with you guys. The most evictions are taking place in these states. You have Virginia, 138,000 evictions. New York, 124,000 evictions. Pennsylvania, 116,000. Phoenix, Arizona, 92,000. Houston, Texas, 84,000. Indiana, 72,000. Guys, these are scary numbers, guys. And remember, I said in the video yesterday that when we talk about real estate, it's all tied into the economy, right? If you have more people that can't afford, it's all a cause and effect. If you have more people, due to inflation, higher interest rates, and I put up a graph yesterday showing that interest payments are substantially higher than what people are making hourly. What does that mean? People will not be able to afford their rent. Rents are going up, everybody. I don't know if you guys, for those of you who rent, I want to hear from you below. Are you paying the same price that you were paying 3 years ago? Are you paying the same price you were paying 2 years ago? Are you paying the same price you were paying 1 year ago? Guys, this situation is getting nuts. I have some more data here for you. In Phoenix, Arizona, eviction levels are 43% higher than pre-pandemic. In Houston, Texas, we have 45% higher than the pre-pandemic. So just to give you an idea, there are actually cities and states that are actually doing worse than pre-pandemic. Again, all this information, all this data, when we talk about economics, you use this information, you use this knowledge to be able to make informed decisions, informed calculations. There are only a couple cities that are around these numbers percentage-wise, but guys, what's scary about that is month by month goes by, there's more evictions all across the United States, guys. That's scary to think about. More and more people can't afford to live, to rent, you know. So it's very scary. You know, again, for the most part, most cities and states are not at the levels of pre-pandemic evictions, but we are slowly but surely getting there, guys. Slowly but surely getting there. And again, you don't want to have all these evictions, guys. It's all a cause and effect. The more eviction, the more people can't afford their rent, the more they can't pay their rent. If they can't pay their rent, the more evictions come. The more evictions come, it slows down the flow of money, economics 101. And when you slow down the flow of money, you slow down the GDP. And if you slow down GDP, what does that mean? Less jobs, less influx of money going in and out, less transactions, less prosperity. And at the end of the day, guys, I guess we can all agree that we all want more prosperity. Nobody wakes up and says, I want to be more broke tomorrow than I am today. No, nobody is like that, right? So very interesting numbers, very interesting numbers. And what I find interesting about this, guys, and I'm not going to get too much into politics. I'm more of a data-driven person. You know, politics is very opinion-based. But just a quick little, I guess, statement I'm going to say is that, listen, however you view politics, whatever side you're on, the thing that sometimes it can be a bit frustrating is you're seeing citizens of this country getting kicked out of their properties, right? People that are law-abiding, pay their taxes, are good people, getting kicked out of their rentals, yet there are certain places all across the United States where non-citizens are given rentals for free. Now, again, it's a very complicated situation. We're not going to get into the nitty-gritty, but these are situations and scenarios. There are certain states that are very, very lucrative to non-citizens to come and live in certain states. I'm not going to name states. I'm not going to name cities. You guys can do that research. But there are certain places where non-citizens and there are certain places where illegal non-citizens, like that term would be an illegal alien, but we're not, again, I'm not trying to get into politics. They're getting stipends. They are getting money coming here. Now, whether you think they should or shouldn't, that's not the point. I'm just stating facts here, right? I don't think that it's fair necessarily with people that have been here, been law-abiding, have been working all their lives, they pay their taxes, getting kicked out, but yeah, we're giving help to people that came here in an illegal way. Again, however you feel about that, or however I feel about it is irrelevant, but these are just facts, guys. This is something that's happening. If you don't know what's happening, guys, wake up, smell the coffee. Nobody's coming to save us. Nobody's coming to save you. These are policies enacted at the highest level. We have no control over this. All we have control is who we vote for in this country, and even that sometimes is questionable. We don't even know if our vote is really, I don't know. We don't even know if our vote is really going toward we don't know, right? I mean, we presumably can say we think so, but politics is a very nasty game, guys. But anyway, let's keep it moving. So when you think about all this, guys, this increase in evictions, right? More people are getting evicted all across. These numbers are slowly and surely rising. Right now, guys, it's never a good time to get evicted. Let's make that clear. It's never a good time to get evicted. But right now, being as people are struggling, can barely afford a rent, definitely can't afford to buy a place. You guys think about that. What happens? What happens? What happens with these people? You know, and normally, guys, when people can't afford their rent, their financial situation is not a good financial situation. Normally, these people don't have a lot in 401k savings. Normally, these people don't have assets. If they had more assets or more money, wouldn't it be safe to say that they wouldn't be getting evicted, right? The people that are getting evicted are being put at a standpoint that it's like, you're evicted, now what? What do? Do you go live with a family member? Do you go live with a friend? You know, do you become homeless, right? And again, think about that, guys. To be homeless, to be a mentally sound person who isn't doing drugs, who doesn't drink, who is a pretty straightforward person, do they deserve to be homeless? I mean, nobody deserves to be homeless. But if a person is trying to do right by themselves and by others, I mean, guys, it's a really scary situation. It's a sad situation, you know. I made a video the other day about realtors and a lot of people going out of business. And there's people that are happy about that, you know. And I'm not happy about people going out of business. I don't want to see anybody struggle. I don't want to see anybody, because when people start struggling, guys, people tend to do other things to make their money, which may not necessarily be legal or ethical, moral ways, right? We don't want to put people in those scenarios. That's just facts. You don't want people looking for other outlets. You don't want people robbing, stealing, and God forbid, hurting another person just so they could put food on their table, because now they don't have a job. Now because the policy is enacted, now they have a family to feed, and working at any place, a fast food restaurant, isn't just enough money, so they get desperate. Desperate people do desperate things, guys. Remember that, you know. So yeah, what happens to these people? Do they go live with family? Do they go live with friends? And even that situation is complicated, guys, because yeah, family's family. We all know this, right? But there's a saying that goes, people that stay in your house, they're like fish. After 3 days, they start to spoil, right? They start to rot. We love our family. We love our friends. But it doesn't necessarily mean we want to live with them. Again, more complications puts people in a situation where maybe they wouldn't have wanted to be in before all of this, right? So just think about that, guys. These are just things to think about. Now, with all that being said, right, does every person that gets evicted, are they good people? Well, the answer is no, right? Not every tenant is a good tenant. Let's make that clear. I'm going to say that again. Not every tenant is a good tenant. There are certain tenants that will give you hell. Remember that. People always want to talk about, oh, yeah, I want to start a rental business. I want rentals. I'm going to buy this property to rent. And they have no clue that, God forbid, you get a tenant. A good tenant is great, right? Because a good tenant isn't going to really bother you. They're going to pay on time. Maybe they're late, but there's a communication there. And as a good landlord, a human being, you can be a little lenient to make things work for everybody, right? Again, contractually, there's a certain amount that you got to pay, but if they're late by a day, a couple of days, and they communicate, realistically, guys, it's better to get your money, keep them in there, keep them happy, than not keep them happy and try to kick them out. It's easier for everybody that way to keep them in there and have a little leniency if possible, right? Again, this is contractual. However you feel about that is however you feel. But I've been in the rental business for over 10 years. I've managed several properties. I've worked with owners that are much more strict. I've worked with owners that are a little more lenient. And at the end of the day, guys, you want to have a good tenant, because a good tenant really isn't going to give you much headache. And if something's wrong with the apartment or wherever they're staying home, they'll let you know, you get it fixed, life goes on, money keeps flowing, everything good. So when you have a good tenant, I almost want to say that you don't appreciate a good tenant till you have a bad tenant. Why do I say that? A bad tenant will make your life hell, guys. I have seen it. I have witnessed it multiple times. I have managed properties with bad tenants. And bad tenants come in all forms and shades. Bad tenants could be your cousins, your blood cousins. Bad tenants could be close friends. Bad tenants can also be strangers, but let's make this clear. It doesn't matter what connection, what familial status your tenant is. A tenant is a tenant, and this is a business. At the end of the day, we need cash to move, we need cash to come in, and we all have to pay bills. That owner that you're thinking is greedy or whatever the case may be, that owner has a mortgage to pay most likely, and he has to pay that. He can't call the bank and say, hey, the tenant's being an asshole, I can't pay this month. That doesn't work like that, guys. When somebody doesn't pay their rent, that affects everybody in a negative way. And again, going back to it, economics 101, microeconomics. You have one bad tenant in each rental not paying their rent because they're being difficult. You multiply that times 100 or 1,000 or 1,000,000. Think about this, guys. This all has a macro effect on the economy and has a negative effect, guys. So a bad tenant is a bad tenant is a bad tenant. You do not appreciate a good tenant until you have a bad tenant, because I have been around horror stories like you would not imagine. Everybody wants to talk about rentals. Oh, I want to have a rental business. It's almost like an Airbnb too. You know, Airbnb is a similar situation. Somebody that's there for a couple of days and treat your home with love and respect, that's great. But there are renters that will trash your home, and it becomes an issue. It'll leave a bad taste in your mouth, guys. I've seen it. I've witnessed it. I have over 10 years experience in this real estate business. I am a realtor myself, and I deal with rentals all the time. Manage several properties. Guys, it sucks to having a bad tenant, okay? It's not fun. And there are tenants that do deserve to get kicked out because they are problematic. They are breaking their contract. They're being just people that aren't morally, ethically correct. And again, just to repeat that, bad tenants come in all shapes and forms. They can be your own family, guys. They can be strangers. They can be close friends. It doesn't matter. When it comes down to business, you need a tenant to pay regardless of who it is, right? So yeah, guys, very interesting. You did have several people, especially during the pandemic when they had the moratoriums, that did want to play the system. They stopped paying. They just stopped paying. Yeah, there are some people that literally could not afford to pay. This is true. There were people that did not work, were not working. They did not have their jobs. They were going through a real struggle. Doesn't necessarily mean they're bad people, but their situation wasn't ideal to pay rent. They weren't working, guys. Remember that. Pre-pandemic levels were kind of crazy. I mean, millions of people were out of work, right? So it's a very sad situation. But on the flip side, you also had people that took advantage of these policies. They just stopped paying, and you know what? They were never planning on paying it again. And the worst part about it, guys, when this was happening, when this was going on, landlords had their hands tied. I could not evict them. They could not evict them. I'm talking about specifically here in South Florida. There were laws enacted, policies enacted that you cannot evict a tenant during the pandemic. It was illegal. You couldn't do anything. Remember, you can't force somebody to leave. You have to do everything through the legal system. If you use any other way to evict people, that is a lawsuit, and you do not want to have a lawsuit for a tenant saying that you unjustly went in there, took their stuff out. Guys, there's a legal process to all of this. It's a pain in the ass. Excuse my French. It's a pain in the butt. It's expensive. It's timely, and time is money. More than the actual money itself, guys, time. The time that they could have been kicked out, you could have been having to rent to somebody else, but because they wanted to play the game, there are people that deserve to get evicted because they just want to play the system and screw everybody over. Again, a bad tenant is a bad tenant is a bad tenant. Doesn't matter who it is. I keep saying this, family, friends, because I've dealt with close friends, family, blood family that have taken advantage of other individuals that I'm close with, and it's never a pretty situation, guys. It makes you really see the true colors of people. When it comes down to business and when it comes down to money, some of you know, some of you may not know. It doesn't matter who it is, guys, how close you are. Business, when it gets ugly, they are no longer your relative. They are no longer your friend. They are just someone that you got to deal with and try to work with to get money back. Again, I say this out of experience, not out of thin air. I've dealt with this one too many times, guys. So I'm telling you, out of 10 years plus of experience, I've dealt with all kinds, and it's never fun, guys. And when the owner is stressing out because he has his own mortgage to pay where he lives, and he has the rental property to pay the mortgage where he lives, now he's stressed out. Now he's contacting you, the property manager. Hey, can you talk to this guy? Every couple of days you're calling the tenant, they're not answering. You have to show up to their job, try to keep things peaceful, try to keep things respectful. But you got to understand, this is people's livelihood. And at the end of the day, guys, we need to help ourselves first before we can help anybody else. But if you have financial responsibilities and you're taking advantage of the system and being a complete a-hole, you deserve to get kicked out. Especially when you don't communicate. You're just like, oh, whatever, I'll just stay here as long as I want. That's not cool, guys. That's not cool. You don't want to be in that situation. So, but yeah, guys, going back to what we were saying, so with rentals, right? The other side of rental is, the other option you have is, if you don't want to rent, you can buy, right? You can buy your home, you can buy real estate, you can do these things, right? What I find interesting with all of this is that right now, the price of rentals is so high, guys, right? And this is all across the nation, but specifically here in South Florida, it's very expensive to rent. And those same people, there are good people that want to buy, but they just don't have the down payment. They don't have the 3.5% FHA. They don't have the 5% low conventional loan. They don't have, they weren't in the military. They can't take advantage of it. They don't have the down payment. They can't use a VA loan. They can't use an FHA. They can't use low down payment because they just don't have a down payment. However, which is interesting, the bank won't qualify them, right? Because they say, no, you can't afford it. But let's say, oh, you can't afford the $1,800 mortgage, but then you're paying a $2,400 rent. How does that make any sense, guys, right? And again, I'm not speaking about theoretical talk. I'm not speaking about hypothesizing or imagining. This is real, guys. I know plenty of people that can afford a mortgage because they're already paying $500 more than what they would pay on their mortgage. They're paying it in rent, and they're like, "Man, I'm up to here with my rent. If I could afford the down payment, it actually make a lot more sense to rent, right?" But I want to talk about this now. I'm going to explain this very briefly because this is a little technical. Most condos in South Florida, they're changing the laws, they're changing the policies. Most condos here in South Florida do not have reserve. This is changing. There are things happening that they're making condos have reserves. Because they don't have reserves, this means that when you're going to use a low down payment, 3.5%, 5%, the loan will not qualify for the community that you want. And I'll give you a perfect example. Again, I speak out of facts, guys. I don't speak out of, I speak out of realistic scenarios. And I'm going to use my own scenario. Where I bought my condo, I bought one here in Davie. And when I bought it, the HOA was about $335 4 or 5 years ago. When I moved now, 4 or 5 years now later, my HOA is double that. I'm at $630, $640. Had I known that I was going to be paying this much in condo association, I could have just bought a house, right? But because I wasn't qualified to get for like more amount of the house, right? The person, the bank doesn't know that in 4 or 5 years the HOA is going to go up to double. They don't know that. There's no way. They go off of figures and number of what's happening right now, so they can qualify you. Let's say you could pay a $700 mortgage, $300 association. Hey, that's cool. Your financials qualify and everything's good. But now going back to what I was telling you is that when these places don't have reserves, if you want to buy in a lot of townhomes and a lot of condos, you have to put 20 to 25% down. I'm going to repeat that one more time for the people that didn't hear me clearly. Because of the reserve situation, when associations do not have reserves, there are certain condos and there are certain townhome communities that you are required to pay 20 to 25% down if you want to get that place. And if you don't have the money, they will not qualify you. Again, I speak out of facts. I speak out of real life experience. This happened in my situation. Where I lived had no reserves. I was planning on using a 5% down. When I bought interest rates were low, thank God, I bought my place, just a little estimate, around $150,000. Let's say a 3.5% down payment on 150 grand. Let's just make it easy. Let's just say 3% on 150,000. Let's do I want to make sure I'm giving you this right. 3% times 150,000. Yeah, exactly what I thought. $4,500 would be my down payment plus closing costs. Everything, I'm all in probably around at a 3.5% down payment, at a 3% down payment. Let's just say theoretically, I'm all in with closing costs. Let's say 10 grand, right? Now, because they didn't have reserves, I was forced to pay 20. I believe it was 20% down at the time. 20% down. Let's do the math. 20% times 150,000.
The answer is 30,000.
And this number is accurate. My down payment, mind you, it was actually more than this, but we're using basic figures. I had to put down on my property $30,000. I want to just do the math one more time because I can't believe 20% times 150,000. Yeah, exactly what it is. I had to put down $30,000, guys, in just a down payment. I was living with my parents at the time, and I was saving every single penny. All my money went to the down payment. Think about that. $30,000. This is not including closing costs, everybody. Let's make that clear. Closing costs came to about another $10,000, $12,000. All in, I was in like 40-something thousand. I had to take money out of different places, move it around. Guys, I had to make it happen because I wanted to have my own property and increasing asset, right? It was, call it what it is, it was almost $50,000, guys, to live in a condo, to live in a 800, 900 square foot condo. Think about that, guys. $50,000 is what most people never get to. And again, I personally had to pull out money out of different places, but it was ridiculous. So that 3.5%, 5% down that you think you can put down because a condo's cheaper and a town is cheaper, I'm letting you know right now the way situations are, you are 9 out of 10 times going to pay more down payment for a condo or townhome that's worth less than a single family because of this reserve situation. Think about that, guys. This is absolutely crazy. It is crazy, you know? So again, going back to what I was telling you, at what I'm paying now between a mortgage and associate, because my mortgage has gone up, guys. Taxes have gone up. Escrow goes up. These things are going up every year. What I originally bought for, everything is more expensive. What I pay right now in just condo association and mortgage, I could very well have been in a single family home. And in the long run, guys, single family homes are always going to appreciate much more than what a condo will. These are just facts, guys. You can afford a single family home, go for the single family home because you can get more value, more appreciation out of it in the long run. It's more maintenance, yes. But again, guys, you will get more value and it's a better investment long term if you can afford a single family. Had I known that everything was going to pretty much double, I would have very well just tried to get a single family and been paying what I pay, the same thing what I pay now. And I said this in a video the other day. There are condos townhome associations that they're paying $700 to $900 a month, guys. I have a friend that lives in a condo in Miami and he pays $900 every single month. Every single month, just in association. So again, I don't like to speak out of, I think, I heard. I'm telling you facts. These are facts. This is not made up information. Okay? So It's a very tricky situation with everything going on. You know, again, buying typically is more expensive, but because of the reserve situation in most of these associations, you're usually putting more down payment on a condo than you are in a single family home. Okay. Um, Now, what I wanted to touch base to was going back to it is renting, right? Another reason why I wanted to rent was I didn't want to be, purchases. I didn't want to be having anybody control what I do, telling me I got to move, raising, even though my prices are being raised and I don't want them to. But this is because of taxes. These are because of other issues, not because of an owner or a single person wants to raise. You have more security when you own. As long as you pay your bills, nobody can kick you out. Nobody can tell you, 1 second, I'm gonna fix my camera. Nobody can tell you what to do. You are the king and owner, and you have certain liberties and freedoms that you would in a single family than you would in a rental. At the end of the day, a rental belongs to somebody else. You pay the rental for the time agreed. When that term is up, you give it back. That's the end of that. The money you put down is lost. You don't ever recoup that. And that's the story of millions of people right now, guys. Okay, I have another friend who he rented about 4 years ago. It was a 1 bedroom. It was in Davie, Florida. It was a 1 bedroom, and he paid. He was paying $1,000 at a time. Or no, I'm sorry, $900, which at the time was a fair rate for what he was paying for the location he was in. That was a great price. Fast forward 4 years later, that same friend ended up having to leave because the owner wanted to raise it to $1,500. He wanted to raise it $600 from at the end of his last term to renew his lease. It was going to be $1,600 for a 1 bedroom in Davie, Florida. Now, don't get me wrong. Davie is a prime location. It's very centrally located. But a 1 bedroom, guys, for $1,600, that is crazy. You know, that is nuts. So my friend, what did he have to do? He went back to living with his family because he was forced to move. He was like, I can't afford a $1,600 rent for a 1 bedroom. I have other things. I got a car payment. I got bills I got to pay for, electrical. I got all these things I got to pay for. I can't afford this. So he ended up having to leave, guys. And the friend I'm talking about is a great friend of mine, a good friend of mine. He's a great person. And this is happening to people that, you know, good people that do things by the book, take care of business the right way. And they're having to leave, guys. They're having to leave, you know. So they don't have the down payment for a home, but they don't have the down payment to pay for a purchase for a single family, but they're paying another $500 or $600 on top of, what they would pay more if they were owning something, you know, which is crazy. It's just crazy. So going back to kind of a quick recap. So when you have people that can't pay their bills, you have more repossessions, more foreclosures. And again, all this affects the economy in a negative way. When you have vacancies, all this affects the economy in a negative way. It all affects the GDP. It's all a negative impact. And again, there are certain people that are thriving in this economy, but there are a lot of people struggling, guys. You know, if you got in this far to this video, I truly want the best for you. I want you to be able to pay down your debt. The first and foremost thing you should do is obviously your health is number one, right? Take care of your health, you know, because without your health, you can't do anything else. But right after that, guys, work on paying down debt, because if you are holding debt with these crazy interest rates, it's really an uphill battle that you don't want to be involved in. I know people that have $40,000, $50,000 in debt, young people, and they can't get out of it, guys. They can't get out of it. They work full time, and it's just a vicious cycle, you know. So I can speak from my personal experience. You know, at one point I was in debt more than I like to say, like to admit. And I've been working on just paying it down, and I've gotten a lot better in my situation, thank God. But I know what it feels like to be in debt, guys. I'm not just speaking out of I think or I heard. Like, I'm speaking from facts, real experience, guys, you know. So yeah, guys, pretty much you know, I want to get your opinions on all this. I want to get your opinions. You know, what you guys think about renting. If you're watching this video, are you still renting? Is the landlord trying to raise your prices? What's going to happen when he raises prices? Will you be able to afford the increase in price? And at the end of the day, everybody, I make these videos to just inform as many people as possible of what's going on now. I wish every single one of you the best. I hope that if you're going through anything right now, that things do get better. You know, be very conscious of what's going on now. Again, I said this in yesterday's video. When the economy is hot, real estate is hot. Or should I say, when real estate is hot, the economy is hot. And vice versa. They go hand in hand with each other. And at a certain point, everybody, with real estate, you have to know what's going on, because there are times when things are too hot. Properties right now are very high. And what you're seeing a lot, the term that's being thrown around a lot is bubble. Bubble this, bubble that, the bubble's gonna pop. If you're a buyer right now, maybe wait for better interest terms for you. If you're looking to buy, maybe just wait a little longer. Keep saving money. Have that down payment ready so when you find a property you like. And if you can't wait or don't want to wait, go ahead and try to make a move, right? But try to always, and this is going back to working with realtors. If you don't work with a realtor, I learn about sales negotiations, because you want to get the best price possible. Again, homes right now are being on the market longer than normal. There is more inventory than there was 6 months ago. Just some time frames. November through January is a good time to buy, because most people don't want to be moving for Christmas or New Year. And then when you have summertime is a very hot time for buyers as well, because, or should I say, it might be a little harder to negotiate during summertime because there's so much buying going on, versus at the end of the year, there's less buying going on because buyers don't want to move. So if you're looking to buy, remember those months, guys. November through January, November through the end of January is a great time to buy. You get great deals. There are properties that are longer on the market on those times of the years. And then when summer comes around, a good time to purchase in summer, if you're going to do it during summer, is close to the end of summer, because people start getting desperate. People want to sell their homes. Sellers might feel like they missed out. FOMO, fear of missing out, so they might be able to give you better terms. But at the end of the day, if you can wait a little longer till interest rates drops, might behoove you to do so. If you cannot wait, just be conscious. And for those who are renting right now and just trying to survive, I just want you to look at the situation everywhere, guys. When things are too hot, you need to take note of that. When things are too expensive, take note of that. And I am not a financial advisor, the only friendly to friendly advice or opinion that I can give you is try to save as much money as you can, guys. Always be looking for opportunities. Even in a down economy, there are opportunities to be had, okay? And that's pretty much it, everybody. My name is Joel Vargas. I am a licensed and insured realtor here in South Florida. I work with buyers, I work with sellers, I do rentals. I've been doing it for 10 plus years. I love what I do. I love the people that I get to work with. If you're looking to buy, you're looking to sell, I would love to work with each and every one of you. My number is 305-988-2230. You can call me, text me if you guys have any questions or you want any information. I do not charge to give information to any of you guys. I would happily do that for free. If you guys want my opinion or want to have a conversation, give me a call, shoot me a text. I would love to work with each and every one of you, and I look forward to hearing from you guys. I hope you guys stay happy, stay healthy, stay motivated. I love you all, and have a great day.